you have social justice. We're talking about fairness and equality. And those are critical components. And so this particular symposium is geared towards helping you to achieve even more. So then, as we build solidarity, we're talking about the shared goals and the mutual support that is necessary. We're talking about the transformative actions, building those relationships. We're talking about the community engagement. We have to develop solutions, to the community. And of course, deal with these challenges together. It is going to take risk. It is going to take sacrifice. And so you have to cry out against, and you have to stand up against what is happening in our country, and indeed what is happening in the world. And of course, healing and empowerment. So after today, we are going to put those and whatever it is that we've learned into action. And then, finally, we are going to make it into our daily practice. So, one of the wonderful things about this program, it is offered on all 3 campuses. And that's a way of reaching out to the communities and serving the communities as we continue to do what? Strive for excellence and soar into the heights of excellence. Thank you. Sit back, enjoy today, and make it one to be remembered. Thank you.
Esteemed Vice Principal of Academics, who graciously represents the Office of the Principal. So, we will now receive greetings from our knowledgeable and eloquent Mrs. Kenny Senior Smith.
To our chairpersons, Jadidia Mackenzie and Tia Gray, our keynote speaker, Professor Bowie, Mr. White, friend and brother, our faculty and students, good morning.
Good morning.
It is certainly my pleasure this morning to extend greetings as we gather for our very important social work symposium under the theme, Building Solidarity Across Generations. I greet you on behalf of the administration of the Moneague College, and the administration includes our principal, Mr. Howard Isaacs, Dr. Jacqueline Thames, our Vice Principal of Administration and Student Services. And before I proceed, I want to take the opportunity, you would have seen Dr. Thames in the room earlier. I want to take the opportunity to extend apologies on behalf of our principal, who is currently off the island attending a higher education conference, and so he has asked me to express his best wishes to you for a productive symposium. This year, for all the events that we host at the Moneague College, feels a little bit extra special. Can anybody tell me why? Anybody wants to take a guess? Yes, I hear it coming out. I feel like people are afraid to say, but it is something for us to boast about. So Moneague College now stands among 7 institutions in Jamaica that is considered institutionally accredited. Yes, I believe that we deserve a round of applause for that. And so every event that we have this year feels a little bit extra special.
That's right.
But this symposium is one that I personally look forward to each year. While I serve as Vice Principal of Academics of this institution, I am also a psychologist. And I've always believed, and Mrs. Gordon preempted me, but also that I am a part, I'm not going to say used to be a part of the School of Humanities. You can't get rid of me that easily. Both professions are deeply committed to understanding human behavior, advocating for the vulnerable and fostering resilience in individuals and communities. Today's theme, Building Solidarity Across Generations, is especially relevant in a time when societal shifts, technological advancements, and economic challenges continue to redefine how we connect and support one another. So events like these are not just academic exercises, and I'm particularly pleased today that the program is being led by students. I believe that we should give our cheers a round of applause, and they're doing a very good job. Maybe something that you were taught in the classroom, Professor Bowie might share something different from what you have heard. Ask the questions, engage in the dialogue, and take away insights that will help shape your journey in this noble field. So I wish for you a successful symposium, and as was said in the prayer, at the end of the symposium, you will join in saying it was good for us to be here. Have a wonderful day.
I want everybody to give themselves a standing ovation for being a social worker. Okay, so my name is Damir Green. I have been a class representative for 4 years. Every year I was elected to represent the class and get to be a leader for my classmates and others.
I've been there, right? And today I want to share with you a little of my journey because I could make it through and so can you. I needed a social worker. And I know what it feels like to have someone to step up for you. So I decided that I want to be someone like that for somebody else, you know. So I decided that social work is the profession for me. These experiences will challenge you. They will push you beyond your comfort zone and help you develop the skills you need to thrive in the field of social work.
I'm very grateful to be doing this part of the program because we're going into the food, don't it? Yes. What we came here for. Right. Not physical food. Chairpersons, thank you. All protocols observed. It is indeed a profound honor to stand before you as we welcome a truly remarkable individual. Today, I have the distinct privilege of introducing our keynote speaker, Professor Sylvester Bowie. Professor Bowie's journey began as a teacher after completing his training at Samsarab Teachers College.
Are you happy to be here?
Oh, yes.
I don't get that feeling. Are you happy to be here?
Yes.
Okay, I am definitely happy to be here. And I'm going to blow up my proposed presentation because, you know, they say sometimes you should allow the spirit to lead. And that's not a reason not to prepare. Just listening to all that I've gone before, I thought that what I'll do, I'll go through the first part of my presentation. I'm planning to do a research type presentation based on the topic, but I think I'll just go through the first few of my slides and then I'll share with you my story, and also I'll intend to pose some questions to challenge your thinking on social work, this noble profession. The theme of building solidarity across generations. I want to look at this in terms of fostering connection, collaboration, and cultural continuity. What I'll have to say will suggest a bridging between the young and the old and the new, the less mature and the more mature, whichever of those terminologies you might want to use. So let me start with a practice that I do, which is to give honor to my ancestors and to my elders. I am the second of 8 children for Aston Bowie and Evelyn Bowie, my parents. My elder that I honor the most is my maternal grandfather, Wilfred Hoylett, because all that I am is because of him as the father to my mother. And so take time out to honor them because of the work, the sacrifice, and what they poured into me. And I encourage you, as you do your journey, never to forget those that have sacrificed for you, those that have taken you from wherever you were before you were conceived, brought you in this world, and then provided the support for you. So I honor also my ancestors, wherever in Africa they came from, surviving the Middle Passage, surviving slavery, post-slavery, into, let me give a working definition of solidarity across generation. It's just this idea of, and I think I heard that said earlier on, of mutual support, of respect, and learning between the older and the younger generation. So it's about connection, it's about discovery, it's about reflection, it's about retention, it's about revelation, and it's about new encounters and experiences. So when we're thinking of the idea of solidarity across generation, those are the kind of things that I'm thinking about. You know, there is a saying that new broom sweep clean, but old broom know the corners. While new ideas and perspective can be effective, experience and familiarity with situation is also valuable. So what I'm saying, not because you are in college now, do not poo-poo or disregard the wisdom that your grandparents or your great-grandparents might offer, even though they never went past the 3rd grade. There is something to be gained from understanding, appreciating, and accepting what the elders have to offer. This is my Moneague connection. Is Oliver here yet? Back in the early 70s, at the Moneague, I don't know if it was called the Moneague then, these men attended here. Mr. Alonzo Oliver Green, and he still lives in Ocho. And by the way, to the administration, you should tap into some of these people, you know, and find out how they can offer resources to encourage their social work program. Just remind them that they have friends who are social workers, so they should contribute. Mr. Basil Ramsey, he was Oliver's senior when they attended in the 70s. And so I think Oliver fancied himself as some kind of track star, so he was on a football team, like the circle there, that's Oliver. He was also on the magazine executive, as was Basil, because like that picture at the top is of 2 members of the magazine committee. Did you serve on the magazine committee?
Back in my day.
Yeah, back in your day. It seemed as if the magazine committee must have been some kind of magnet for the guys. I wonder why. But so this is my connection to Moneague. Both Basil and Oliver are friends for life. Okay, so these are the 2 people that I just mentioned before. That's Basil on my right. He lives in Canada, and Oliver lives in Ocho and Westmoreland. You know, that's kind of, he got rich out of money and have 2 homes now. So, but again, these are my money connection, and I encourage you, like, reach out to some of these folks. You know, they've done well, having started here, and you must find a way to have them give back. So I want to do a little icebreaker, and by show of hands, and feel free to speak after, like you have indicated. Who has ever felt misunderstood by someone from another generation? You know, if you're young, like I see the hands coming up, right? If you're young, misunderstood by old people, and if you're senior, more experienced, feel misunderstood by younger people. All right, so I saw a lot of hands over here. Yeah, talk to us, tell us, give us. I'm looking right at you. Why are you looking behind you? Yeah. Hey, you see, like young people needing to block old people, right? Because they're misunderstanding your intent. Like Somebody else in the section, a lot of people had their hand up. You feel misunderstood by like some older person. Don't be shy. Listen, let me just tell you something right now. If you're gonna be a social worker, shy like you just have to go. You gotta go. An older person, more seasoned person, experienced person. I saw some hand go up over here, like being misunderstood by young people. The way we communicate, the ideas we have about how the world works, does cause conflict from time to time. And so sometimes the young people figure that the older generation just don't get their struggles. You know, the kind of things that they're dealing with. Or the older folks might think that the young people just don't respect their traditions anymore. Anybody in here like played marbles when they were young? Yeah, so just a few people, but like the seniors play. You know, when I was young, we made board wheel truck, we played marbles, we played games, and now the young people do what? Play games on their phones, right? And they play games on their phone. And they play games on their phone. Like young people, you can lock them in a room for a week and go on vacation and come back and they're still there playing games. So, what I want to say regarding the theme, right, is in social work, as a matter of fact, this is towards the end of Social Work Month. And social work is about enhancing human well-being. You said it, my brother. Promoting social justice by working with individuals, with families, with communities, and with systems to address needs, to ameliorate conditions, and to overcome challenges. This is especially true regarding the young and the elderly, the vulnerable, the poor, and the oppressed. Social work is about working with these across communities, across generations, again, and I never like to say to fix, because problems and challenges are always going to be there. But social work is about ameliorating. Whatever you went there and found, you're going to look to make it better. The problem might still be there when you're done. You know, if you're working with poor families in a community, chances are, even if you work in there for 50 years, the community might still be poor. But you can make a difference in that community, and individuals out of that community might go on to bigger and better things. I'm suggesting that. So when we think of some of these misunderstandings that happen across generation and the need for solidarity, if we start thinking in terms of whether it be with individuals, with families, with groups, or with communities, if we ever start thinking that as a change agent, part of my job is to make things better than when I encountered it. Is to have people feel better about themselves than when they came into contact with me. Then some of the misunderstandings between generations might disappear. If you don't remember anything about what I might say for the rest, because I'm going to, after a few slides, just switch to talking about my journey and to share some challenges that I'm bringing your way. Don't ever, and maybe I should say, do not ever get comfortable only being agents of social control. Because most of the jobs that we have, we are agents of social control, whether we like it or not. And I'm saying to you, do not ever become comfortable only being agents of social control to further oppress those without power. Be willing, this is my first big challenge to you, be willing to get into trouble sometimes. Why would I say that? You know, the congressman and civil rights leader, Congressman John Lewis, he puts it this way: get into good trouble, necessary trouble, what was he doing? He was calling people who care to action, urging people to speak up and to get involved in the fight for justice and equality. Be willing, all of you, to get involved when things are wrong and people are being oppressed. Be willing to get involved and speak up for justice and equality. A lot of times your job, like if you're a teacher, a lecturer here in the college, like your job is to kind of maintain the status quo and come and deliver your lecture and engage the students and do. But there comes a time when you might need to write up a placard and go and join a protest because people are being oppressed. There comes a time when you might need to dip in your pocket and provide financial resources to support a cause that's bigger than yourself. As a social worker, you become a social justice warrior, and you must speak truth to power. So I'm saying to you, never ever get comfortable only being an agent of social control. But sometimes be willing to get into trouble, get into good trouble, to rock the boat, to speak up and speak out against injustice and against what's wrong. And I'm not talking about moral things like religion, and I'm just talking about just basic stuff that affect the poor, the disaffected, the powerless. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not, like church will take care of the religious, moral things. But it's young people like you and some of the elders in here that teachers that have to speak up and speak out against injustice in the society. So let me talk about why solidarity matters. A classic dictionary definition of solidarity is unity of agreement or feeling or action, especially among individuals with a common interest. Solidarity. Working together in unity, feeling of action, especially of individuals with common interests. So as social workers, common interest is the profession. So when we talk about solidarity, it might mean coming together as a profession to take a position on an issue. And in the US, we do that all the time. Where I was president of the California chapter, for example, and there might be a political issue. And as a community, we'll take a stand, we'll take a position on that issue, and we'll make it known. We'll have a press release. So it says we show solidarity as a community on the particular issue at hand. It's about the need to promote a culture of, when we think about solidarity across this generation, a culture of intergenerational dialogue and cooperation in a very highly polarized world. On April 29th, 2024, there was a celebration entitled the European Day of Solidarity Between Generations. And this is what the organizers argued. And I concur with their argument, that it is timely and important to bridge the generation gap and to promote understanding and empathy, to collaborate across generations. And so what I'm saying to us is we have to find a way for young people to work effectively, to collaborate with older people, more seasoned people to solve problems that confront us as a society. We can't continue to stand back and say, well, you know, they don't understand me and like we can't work together because like she don't even want to do anything but email because she's afraid of the computer or he doesn't like technology. We have to find a way to bridge those gaps. So my question to us is, how can we ensure that the wisdom from our elders and the energy of our youth work together in a collaborative manner to make Jamaica a better place? What we have in common here, we all love Jamaica. Well, I'm going to take it for granted that we love Jamaica, right? Yes? Yeah, we all love Jamaica. So how can we like get the wisdom of the elders, wrap itself in the energy of our young people in a collaborative manner so that this country can be a better place? How can we do that? And these are questions that like you have to ponder and answer. And I'm hoping that a few ideas that I'll share, like you might interrogate and determine whether it's useful or not. How many people in here are familiar with the Jamaican proverb, the world on a level? Young people don't know that one? That's funny. The world on a level, but it what? It have a balance. That's a donkey say. I've never seen a talking donkey. In the Bible, there was a horse that spoke. But yeah, it said, Jackass said, the world a level, but it has a balance. So, in other words, things aren't fair, but we have to find balance. And so, my question is, and the challenge that we face is that without solidarity, the world will continue to be imbalance. And when you're working, you know, and I see the psychologist is back. When you have this equilibrium, like we're working to like kind of create like normalcy or normality again, because when we have this equilibrium, things are out of balance, and we're always looking to come back into balance. So how do we deal with some of the workplace tension? You know, older professionals see themselves as entitled, while younger professionals might feel undervalued. Or dealing with some of the cultural shifts. Some traditions are fading because the younger generation are not engaged. And let's not talk about the technical and communication gaps. You know, social media slangs. Yeah, your mom, like, what are you putting up, girl? Take it down. And then you end up blocking. Now, you know, isn't your mom one of the most important persons in your life? Yeah, that's the last thing you want to do is lock out your mom. You know, you said, yeah, but you still block her, right? Yeah, but you still block her. Yeah, you block her on your social media, right? Yeah. So let's think about this, right? You block her because of the misunderstanding. She's not understanding your intent. And so we're saying, how do we bridge this gap? Slangs, digital trends. It creates misunderstandings all the time. The changes are so rapid that many older workers and students might feel as if they're being left behind. It might mean that credible messengers are needed to encourage solidarity between the generations. The last thing I'm going to say here about what I had prepared, then I'll kind of go to this because I like the energy that I felt earlier on, and I really kind of want to share the struggle, the challenges, but the bliss of getting there and moving. There's another Jamaican proverb that says, one hand can't clap. Meaning, we need each other. In spite of what you think about the old fogies, how they dress, how they smell. And let me just tell you something. I work in child protective services. And you see, especially like in the winter time in the States, when those homes are locked up all the time, you go inside of some of them places and it smells. I've gone into homes where I say, please open the window. And it is winter time with the heat on because it smells so rough inside. But you know what a good social worker does? They work with smelly clients in spite of. Some clients are rude. They'll call you a name that's not a name you got from your mother. But you know what a good social worker does? They work with those rude clients because it's not about you. It's about, remember the word ameliorating? Yeah, it's about seeking to help ameliorate the circumstances as you encountered it. Can I leave here and this place, this space is a better place and space than when I first entered it? That should be at the back of your mind. Because if you haven't made the place better, if you haven't had this person thinking that they feel better about themselves, then maybe you have just wasted their time and yours. The intent must be to make a difference. That's why in social work we say that we're change agents. We don't just say that because it sounds catchy. That's the intent of a social worker. Every encounter is to make a difference in a positive direction. We don't go there to make people's life worse. Why would you get involved in something like that? So, I want to mention some of the intergenerational disconnect. A few of them highlighted by the so-called generation gap. And by the way, the so-called generation gap is real. Issues like technology, shifting values, misunderstandings, disunity, discord, dissension, disconnection, disaffection. I call them the 7 Ds. Let me repeat them. The 7 Ds. Division, disunity, discord, dissension, disconnection, and disaffection. These are the things that affect how we relate and connect to one another. The good news, and I'm going to leave this with you because I'm not going to go into it. There are agencies in Jamaica that continue to do study, a plug for research. Where are my research-loving students in the house? Who loves statistics? So, a word of encouragement. Get used to liking statistics. You know why? If you're going to be an effective, competent social worker, statistics must become your friend. Why do I say that? Because statistics is critical for research. And you can't do social work practice without research. Be content to have as your friend statistics, because it's critical for research, and without research, all you'd be doing is tinkering. You know, you go to the mechanic sometime and they touch things and knock things and hoping that they find the problem. Yeah, as professionals. By the way, social work is a profession. As professionals, we don't want to go in here tinkering, knocking, taking a hammer, hitting that and hoping that it works. And then the person drive out, and as soon as they drive out, they see that the temperature is back to where it was before. You keep bringing it back because the guy is just tinkering. No, research will always guide your practice. And your practice will always guide the research. So I'm making a plug for research, and I'm saying there are agencies in Jamaica National Commercial Bank, NCB, had done a major study about the generation gap. Because they were looking to go full technological, especially after the pandemic, during the pandemic. And they discovered some stuff that is useful for social work students, for research-loving people. And so I encourage you to go to their website. I have the URL for the study to check it out. A few things that they discovered: that people were resistant to fintech adoption. Some senior employees were hesitant to embrace digital banking tools, fearing job redundancy or lack of technical expertise. Different communication preference. Older employees preferred face-to-face for customer service interaction, while younger people pushed for AI chatbot and online service options. The training gap was another big one. Rapid implementation of new banking technologies left some older employees struggling to keep up. But you know what? Based on their research, by the way, that's how we solve the problem. We do the research. Based on their research, they implemented things like digital training and upskilling initiatives, gradual integration of technology, cross-generational collaboration, and incentivizing digital adoption. And the big thing that we saw from this NCB study is that the impact was that over 80% of employees across all age groups successfully transitioned to using the digital banking tool. Now just imagine if you had like 80% pass rate, like you're doing well, especially for research purposes. So the critical point I'm making here is that these case studies are being done. There is one by Grace Kennedy, their mentoring program. There is the UA Alumni Mentorship Program. There is the Digicel Digital Literacy Program. There is the RISE, RISC Life Management Program. And maybe one of the most cultural ones is the Maroon Cultural Preservation, how they pass things down from old to young. All of those are research-based activities that can influence how we think about bridging the gap across generations, because that's what they're dealing with. You might say, what does NCB have to do with social work? Everything, because research is research is research. Data, data, data. All right, so I'm going to stop here with regard to my presentation and to talk a little about my journey, my experience, to encourage you and to challenge you. I started as a teacher. I trained at Sam Sharp Teachers College and did my internship in Bowie, and then I worked for the Ministry of Youth in a number of child care division. Doing this, I, like most men, wanted money. I love money. Anybody in here love money? Of course. By the way, I heard a young man say, if you want to be a millionaire, you know that there are millionaire social workers. So let me just tell you one area to think of that you lecturers might not tell you about is entrepreneurial social work. Just think about services that you might offer that social workers need where you can make money. Yeah, you can be entrepreneurial in your outlook. Do not confine yourself to just doing one-on-one. Somebody said it was like regular counseling. I'm going to tell you some of the things that I did, right? Like, after I got my first social work degree, I went straight back to school to get my master's. So I continued to work my side job that had nothing to do with social work until I got my master's. And then my first job was in a child protective services agency in a rural area. And just like here, rural practice is different from urban practice. Yeah, because sometimes you have to travel up in the mountain on rough road. to get to the client or the agency to go do the work. But social workers are committed to making a difference, to ameliorating circumstances that they encounter. So I work for a Child Protective Service agency as an emergency response worker. What that simply means is that if there's a call to the department or to the police to say, I think there's a child in danger, the child has been left alone, or I see a child wandering on the street, or I see the parents, it's winter, and the kid have on no heavy clothing, they're in the back of the car, in the parking lot, whatever it might be. An emergency that requires your attention right away. So I'd be a runner. They call in and they say, Sylvester, go check this. And so you go and you do an assessment of the situation, and you make a determination, quick judgment. You always seek to err on the side of caution, right? Because ultimately, your interest, the greatest interest of every social worker should be the protection of life. The protection of life. That is your highest goal. So if you're given a number of choices and one of them have to do with protecting life, don't even look on the others. Just go straight to protecting life. So you would make a judgment and determine if the child needs care and protection, or is something that you talk to the mom and she say, look, I've been unemployed for 2 years, I can't afford, where you will remove that kid? No, you might go to the agency and get some quote for this kid. Send her to an agency that provides warm clothing for children, that kind of stuff. And talk to her about the danger of having the kid out in this kind of weather. You might take information, because if you get another call 2 days' time that this is happening, then you might need to do an intervention. So I did that kind of work. I loved it. I loved the adrenaline rush. I love short fixes. I don't like carrying kids for a long time. You go, you intervene, you set up a fix, and you move on again. Sometimes it's because you don't have the patience to do deep quality social work while you do that. But then I worked for another agency. I did reunification. I worked in a unit that they said least likely to reunify because the case situations were so tough. But I'm a come to Jesus kind of social worker. I get down to brass tack quickly. I don't do a lot of the fancy, like how you're feeling and how were you brought up and how did your mother cuddle you. I leave that for the social worker with the patient. I go straight to it. Your child has been removed from your home. Are you interested in getting the child back home? Of course, every mother loves their child. So are you willing to work with me to do the things that you need to do to get your child back home? And of course, they're going to say yes. And so you outline, in more than 75% of the time, they're not ready to do the things that they say that they want to do. But that's your starting point. What you want is a foot in the door. You don't have to fix anything. Remember, ameliorate, you don't have to fix. You get a foot in the door and you start building relationship. Remember one of the early courses you have was about communication? Interpersonal and intrapersonal communication. Yes. Those are skill sets you want to build. Because let me just tell you, the greatest thing you can do working with clients is to build relationship where people start trusting you. Because when people trust you, they tell you everything. They tell you all of the business. Yes. Yes. I used to have to tell mothers sometimes, don't tell me that. Because if you tell me that, I have to report it. Because I'm a mandated reporter. So that is something you don't want to tell me. Let's just talk about the thing that I'm talking about. Yeah, because you start talking and they start telling that, oh yeah, they've been smoking weed in the house with the kid. Even though the court order said they mustn't be smoking weed. So please work on your skill of building trust and confidence. Work on your communication skill. When I say interpersonal, what am I talking about? Mr. Gentleman that introduced me. When we talk about interpersonal skills, what are we talking about? Interpersonal. How you relate to others, right? Yeah, how you connect. And remember, it's not just what you say, but it's what you do. It's how you roll your eyes, and how you rock your shoulder, and how you put your hand on your kimbo. All of that is telling a story. That's communication. Send the receiver and all the filtering. Yeah, when you go like this, I don't know what that means. Does that mean you're happy or you're sad? I have to figure it out, right? So, and then when we talk about intrapersonal, what are we talking about? Intrapersonal communication. Yeah, the ability to reflect, right? You cut off somebody this morning because you were angry. And you get a chance to sit back and you say, oh my God, you know, all the person said was, like your dress looked nice. You really have to tell off somebody because of that? Yeah, so the ability to reflect and to make the adjustment. Critical skills for you as a social worker. So in the least likely to reunify unit that I worked, I did the come to Jesus conversation with parents because I know every mother loves the kids. And I encourage, I prodded, and sometimes I'll say, if you think you're not ready, tell me. And you know what? If you build trust, if you build relationship, people will tell you. Yes. They say, I'm still using. Yes. I mean, I love my child, but I love the drugs. I love the liquor. And I have a boyfriend that he takes care of all of my finances. I'm not leaving him. Even though the child was removed because the man is abusing the children. So I'll say things like, well, you know, we can't have the man in the house and the child in the house. How many people here use the term empowerment? Oh, yes. Oh yeah, like we said that we're here to empower. Yes. Well, empowerment means helping people to make their own decision, even if it's a bad decision. It's not your job to insist that they do the right thing. It's not your job. Your job is to give them option, empower them, and then they decide. So I say the child and this abusing man can't stay in the house together. You choose. Sometimes that's when they see the light and they say, you know what, I have to kick out this old worthless man because I'm protecting my child. But sometimes it's economics. And they say, if I get rid of this man, how am I going to pay my bills? And I didn't like the girl, my little daughter's father anyhow. Because he was a worthless, so good, no good, so and so. So this is where you might say, well, what if we place the child in a home? I would look for relatives first. And while you continue to work on your stuff, you still have access, you can still do the visit. You build a relationship and the trust, and you keep going back. And you know what? Sometimes people come to their senses, they see the light, and they decide they want to do right by their child. Mm-hmm. But remember, you're not there to fix anything. You're there to ameliorate, and sometimes you can't fix anything. Right. So don't be disappointed because this person didn't get their life back together and take the child back home. You try. The best thing you can do as a social worker is look to make the situation better than when you encountered it. So I moved on from Child Protective Services, and I'm going to show you social work is multifaceted. You do a lot of things. It's not just working with children and families. I started to run the federal program at the university where we provide stipend for students to get a master's and go into social work, doing child protective work. All of a sudden I'm starting to think, my God, look at all these social workers who are teachers, faculty members, professors, right? And I said, yeah, that is something that I should do too. So of course I went on, got my doctorate, and worked in the field, doing teaching. I was the director for the undergraduate program. Just started to do a lot of research. A critical area of social work is research. Yes. But I'm going to give kudos again to my research folks that are in here, because social work is nothing without the research. Because it drives the practice. Because otherwise you're just using your gut. And social workers don't use gut. Can I say that again? Yes. Social workers don't use gut. We don't have no gut feeling. Because that's like seeing somebody and say, my spirit not take them. No, we don't do the work like that. We do the work based on data, research-driven decision making. So I just want to encourage, and maybe the first question that I'm going to ask, and please start indicating when I'm going on too much, but I'm going to ask this question of our young people in here and our elders. How many of you willing to stand up for justice? If you see something going down that you know is wrong on the college campus here, willing to take a stand and be seen and counted. A few of you willing to take a stand. Come on. There comes the point. Thank you for your hand. There comes the time. There comes the time when you must stand for something, because if you don't, you'll fall for anything. And being a social worker is about being a person of integrity, being a person who says what they mean and mean what they say. Being a social worker, you know, the final thing I'll tell you about what I do, I've been retired since, actually it is 2000, officially retired in 2022, because I could work 5 years at half time after I retired, but after a year and a half, I was done. One of the nice things about being a social worker and trying your hand at many things is sometimes you get to retire early and go live and enjoy life.
That's right.
Yeah, don't just plan to work for SDC. Is that SDC the person was? Yeah. Don't just plan to work for SDC or to work for the agency there, but plan your trajectory this way. Always looking to improve as you go along. And then there comes a time when you can say to the job, I'm done and I'm ready to do what God called me to do. And you know what God called me to do? To volunteer like crazy. Yeah, I volunteer in a prison in California, Folsom Prison. And I'm trained as a mediator, because you know, like critical thing to do in social work. I'm also trained to do, what I do in the prison is restorative justice. So I'm a restorative justice practitioner. And what we believe in is restoring the individual who caused harm, restoring the individual who was harmed, restoring the community where the harm happened. So each week when we go into prison, the current group we have is about 25, and at least 20 of them committed murder or multiple murder. As a social worker, you have to believe in redemption. And you have to believe, look, a guy might never get out of prison, but if he's gonna be a citizen inside the prison, you can work for him to be the best prisoner that there is in that prison. Yes, you can. That is what you as a social worker, like, you believe in redemption, you believe in ameliorating the situation. So you went in and he was a fighter, like to stop people, always getting into trouble. You work with him, and you hope that by the time you leave, he become a peacemaker. He become a credible messenger, encouraging peace. And so by the time we're done with our 8 months course, and I'm going through my 3rd cohort, by the time we're done, we have them write a letter of apology for the crime that they committed, the harm that they caused. Because like people think that you're in there cuddling them. No, you're in there having people take responsibility for their actions. So when you work with families, when you work with individuals, when you work with communities, like, you speak truth to power. Like, you're not there pretending that things are nice when it's not. No, the crime that you committed was heinous. And if you're remorseful, then you must do an apology. And because you apologize doesn't mean that you're forgiven. because the family members that were harmed might still want to kill you. But it's about you setting yourself free. So I'm going to stop here and invite any question from you and follow the direction here. Be willing, be open to be a person of integrity, to be effective in the way you communicate, and to work, pardon my using this expression, it's not a good one, work like hell to ameliorate whatever circumstance you entered in, whatever space you entered in as a social worker, like you're going to work. And so when we think about the gap, the divide between the young, between across generations, how am I as a social work student? You're not even a social worker yet, right? How am I as a social work student going to play my part in looking to bridge this gap? I remember I say one of the first places to start is research. I know a lot of you use AI. It's a good tool. That might be a place to start. Like chatbot, what kind of ideas are there to work with older people who we don't see eye to eye? And by the way, you can do your query and interrogate the answer that you get from AI to refine it and give you a better answer. You get this little generic answer and you say, who you talk to? Yeah, give me something better than that. Interrogate, interrogate, interrogate. Be willing to do that. Interrogate your own ideas. Are you going to be willing to work with somebody who raped a child? Yeah, see some heads saying no already. But you don't get to pick and choose. You cast your net in the sea and fish come in. When you work for an agency and the agency say, we work with these kind of clients, what you going to tell them? Say, may I resign the job? And then you go to another agency, may I resign the job? So maybe social work is not for you. And that is fine too. Be open to do the work of social work, not to pick and choose who your client might be. Who in here would choose a different family if they could? Don't show me your hand. I don't want to know about your family business. We do not get to choose our family. We do not get to choose our clients when we work for an agency. So please, these are the kind of things that I want you to grapple with and think about. How am I going to use research to be a better practitioner? How am I going to work with clients that trigger me? Every time I hear the word, I want to get mad. Yeah, how do you manage your trigger? I'm going to do this exercise and I'm done. I usually do this at the beginning. But I'll do it now because it's an integral part of my practice. Getting grounded. Being present in the moment, in the space. If I could get your attention for a minute. If I could get your attention for a minute. Please, as you process all that I've said a lot, think about what question you might have, whether you ask it here or you leave with it. This is what I want you to do. I want you, if you feel comfortable enough, I want you to close your eyes for a minute. And just sit back and relax, so that you can feel the back of your chair against your back. Just relax. A good time to get here. Like, you've been all over the place for a minute, but let's just get here. With your eyes closed, making sure that you're feeling your back against the chair. Make sure that your feet are solidly planted on the floor. You can feel them. Wiggle your toes so you can feel it. Give yourself the opportunity to think about what good deed you are willing to do today, the rest of this week, to enhance the quality of communication between you and any elder person that you know or that is in your life. So it might be your parents, your grandparents, your neighbor. Just think a couple positive thoughts that you might want to have as a part of your encounter today or for the rest of the week. And then if you just open your eye for a quick minute just so that you can see what I'm asking you to do. I want you to take your hand, hold it out in front of you like this. Then bring them close, rest them on your shoulder, and just pat them gently and just relax. Close your eyes again, pat them gently and relax. And think the most pleasant thoughts that you might think as you are patting yourself on the shoulder. Most pleasant thought. Because, remember, you deserve a pat on the shoulder. And the last thing I'm going to ask you to do, and you can open your eyes to do this, is to do a quick breathing exercise. By the way, you can do this with your clients. You go out and you have a hostile client and you just say, Jamaica is a place full of prayers. So you might say, we want to get comfortable. Are you comfortable with a prayer? Do you want to lead a prayer, or I'd be willing to pray? And if you're not into prayers, you might just say, I just want you to just relax, just be comfortable for a minute. And so the breathing exercise I'm going to share with you is one that you can do with client or with yourself. I call it the 4-6-8. 4-6-8. So 4 is breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 is holding, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 8 is slowly exhaling, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's try that again. 4 breathing in, 6 hold, 8 out slowly. So let's go breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Slowly exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, you are the change that you want to see. Use the data. Communicate effectively. Be patient. And somebody used the big word earlier on about empathy. Yeah, learn to walk in somebody's shoes. And don't say things like, how could people live like this? Because you know what?
Thank you, Professor. Good afternoon, everybody. So let me not preempt anything. My job this afternoon is to see to that you don't go back home with your questions. And I know that all of you have a lot of questions. So we don't have a lot of time, so we're going to invite any questions that you have for Professor Bowie. Maybe the question is for some of the people who presented earlier, maybe somebody who gave a testimonial or so, but please do not go back home with your questions. So we're ready to roll. Questions?
Don't waste the time on people who are always putting you down. Like the people who building you up, hang around them. So to the question of jobs, when I was a youngster, I sold Gleaner, the Jamaican newspaper. And let me just tell you, that's one of the lowest category of jobs. When you say somebody I sell Gleaner, it's like saying they're walking barefooted. Yeah. But I have had this attitude since I sold Gleaner as a boy that I am willing to do anything for work as long as it's honest and the pay is good. So you say your mom has a master's and she's not getting a job in the field. So sometimes you look at diversifying the quality of your experience, because you might work some places and bring that experience back. You know, I did sales and marketing. I sold life insurance. I worked for Wisconsin training, selling everything under the sun. I took all of that into the work. I'm a salesman when I do social work because I worked in sales. I'm a teacher when I did social work because I'm trained as a teacher. Bring your experience to bear. And let me just say, if you don't have confidence in yourself, a lot of times people around you don't have confidence in you. There's a difference between being confident and being arrogant. So be confident. You know, my second job in social work, the guy hired me without interviewing me. He heard about what I was doing with my agency and stole me from that agency. I got a 30% increase in my salary. So what I'm just saying is there's a certain amount of trust that you take to this. Are you a person of faith? A lot of people in Jamaica, people of faith. Then you really have to take the faith. That's what it says, that God will, not might, He will provide. And then there's another scripture that I own. It says, God can do more for me than I can ask or think or even imagine. See sky as the limit. I dreamed and dreamed big, and then like God has a special plan for you, my sister. And all He wants you to do is for you to make yourself available to work His purpose out. And I'm not talking. I'm coming from dirt poor. When I finished teacher's college, the shoes that I had were my track shoes. And I went to the beach one day in Ochi and they stole the shoes. I'm walking barefooted up Ochi Vale. It's hot. I'm doing the hot skip and jump like that. But God. So I'm just saying, if you're a person of faith, trust God to work His purpose out. And they say faith without works is dead. So you have the faith, go out and do the work. Because God has a work for her as she does for you. Just believe that. Let me just tell you, God has a way of just exceeding your expectation. So do this work from the heart. I like to say, bring your heart to the job. But I'm there for a purpose, and God is working His purpose out through me. So it might sound preachy, but I tell you because that's my experience. And then you just go out and just fearlessly do the work that you're doing. Don't be afraid of being a social worker. Say it with pride. I'm a proud social worker. And this is what I do. So that's my encouragement to you. And pray on it too, because you're a person of faith. I know that was a long answer. Did I answer your question, by the way?
All right, thank you, sir. Anybody else? Any other questions? Yeah, there's one right here.
Oh my Lord, I have so many of those. You sure you want to hear the answer? So, my biggest setback, I think, when I worked in adoption, I was interviewing a lady who wanted to adopt. She was a professor of psychology at at Sac State, the university that I ended up working. And I'm talking to her about what she's looking for in a child. And she said to me, she would not have a black child or a mixed race child unless the child was Asian or white. And I was triggered. You know, a social worker must remain calm under all circumstances because you can't judge a person because they're bigoted. So I kind of went back. I went back to my office, and I'm hopping mad talking to my supervisor. And my supervisor, a white female, said this to me. And so it's this negative, but what I did, she said, this is what you need to do, Sylvester. Whenever you're working with a client and they honestly express themselves, you should take their honesty as a plus, not a minus. And I said, what do you mean? Tell me more. And she said, you know exactly the type of child the woman wants, so don't give her another child. You know, when she explained to me why she wouldn't want a black child or a mixed race child, I wanted to hug the woman. Because she said, any child that I take, I must be able to love that child. But I also want them to be accepted by my family. And my family is a bigoted set of people. They wouldn't accept. And I'm saying, isn't that exactly what you want to hear? Instead of forcing this woman to take a child, adopt the child, and then the family rejects the child. So, you know, I work like, who work hard? Mules? I work hard like a mule to get this woman a lily white baby. Because that child would be accepted and would be loved by their family. Remember, you don't solve every problem that you come up against. You know, as a social worker, you might say, I don't deal with bigotry. But that's not your lane right now. Your lane is to get this family a child to adopt. Somebody else would deal with the bigotry. So that was my biggest challenge, the way that I reacted to somebody being honest. But the good thing is how it got resolved. And you know what? I got that woman a perfect little white baby. And I know that baby is in a family that was loved. Because always remember what it is that you're doing at your agency. You're not there to do all the other stuff. You're there to do that job that you're employed to do, that you're interning, you're doing your practicum with. So focus on that and not try to promise to fix the rest of the world. Because you have a little lane, stay in it. You know, when you get out of your lane, when you're off duty. Oh yeah, you know, if you want to go to the beach, you go to the beach. But while you're on the job, you take care of business. So that's the one. That's a great question. What's the moral of that story? When people are honest with you, don't hate them for their honesty. They might not share the same values that you share, but they're being honest. That is really, really important. Not to be judgmental. And it's hard not to be judgmental. By the way, you know what I tell social workers? You must be neutral. You can't be neutral. You have a mind, you have a heart. You don't act on your bias to penalize a client. But you have position. I have position. Oh yeah, I'm not neutral about injustice. I'm not neutral about poverty. But it don't mean I'm going to steal from the rich to give to the poor. I'm not going to be Robin Hood. I think we have time for one more question, right? Hey, that's great question, by the way. Great questions. Yeah, it's about time a man stand up.
All right, so my question is, as a male in social work, and as you know in Jamaica, social work is a very female-dominated space.
Same thing in the United States.
Okay. I am always inspired by Mr. Reynolds to continue to do social work because, you know, as young men, we can excel in this space.
Yeah.
So what I want to ask you, as a man in social work, what advice would you give to someone like me who sometimes feel doubted in terms of, I feel different from everybody else that is doing it as a male?
Awesome question. And I'm going to start with, you are different than everybody else that's doing it. You really are different. So, here's what I'd say to men thinking about this profession. Be comfortable in your skin. Just like women in this profession, be comfortable in your skin. If you know that you've been called to do a job, then why would you? You know what happened to the last man who got called to do a job and tried to run? Remember a guy named Jonah? Yeah. Like him said, man, they go as far as the east is from the west. So I guess I'm just saying, if that's what you're called to do, then focus on the good that you can do in your job. Focus on the positive that you can bring as a male. You know, think about not just yourself, but think about all those little boys that have no male model in their lives. You know, I volunteer as a court-appointed special advocate, and I work with a lot of young men. The only positive male role model they have is the one that they encounter in the job. You as a male in social work might be the first time a young girl encounter a man who's not trying to take advantage of her. I had a mother come in my office, sit down with her leg open, and I said, hold on, make we just straighten out something right now. Close your leg. Yeah, she's used to men taking advantage of her. I'm not there to do that. I say, close your leg, don't distract me, man. Me a man. Me don't want to see the color of your panty. I'm a come to Jesus kind of guy. So my brother, you as a model might be the only positive influence a young lady or a male child might have. So don't think selfish today, but think about the contribution that you can make. And let me just tell you something. In terms of getting job, you'll get job. That's right. Because people are hire man. I'm being real. And you don't have to stay in one thing all your life. Stepping stone, building foundation, different areas of practice. I'm going to say it again. Think entrepreneurial social work. Please, those of you with good skills, good computer skills, coding skills, like you can parlay that into business, providing services that people who do the work. Social work is a noble profession. You can make a difference. You're not going to fix anything, but you look to ameliorate. Yeah, making the situation, the place, the space, the circumstance better than when you encounter it. I made a difference. I ameliorated the circumstance that I encountered. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I think we have one last question, and we're going to give the opportunity for this.
Me and them said that Moneague lecturer, them are the brightest and the best. Actually, I'm Moneague, you go school? Oh, I'm Moby. Any lecturer, them know I'm Moby good too. That is a profound question. It is. Because sometimes we don't think about ethical dilemmas that we encounter. Yes, my dear, I've encountered in my profession many ethical dilemmas. What do I do every time I encounter them? I used to tell my students, social workers do not get tips. You know, like if you're bartending, waiting tables, you get tips. I said social workers do not get tips. You know why? Because you're a professional. Yeah, so when people try to offer you money for doing your job, they're trying to bribe you. So what do I do when I face an ethical dilemma? I get grounded, I breathe. Because sometimes you want to punch somebody out, but you have to breathe, right? And then I say, what are the tenets of my profession? And let me just tell you this. You have an obligation to your client. And remember I said the highest good is life and the preservation of it. As a professional, you have an obligation to your client. You have an obligation to your office, your agency that hire you. You have an obligation to your colleagues in the profession. And you have an obligation to the profession of social work universal. So here's the question you have to ask. If this dilemma I'm facing, if it violates the client, I can't do it. If it put my office at odds, I can't do it. if my colleagues that I work with would be harmed by it. I can't do it. And if universally the profession would be harmed, I can't do it. So like there are four things staring at you all the time. So let me give you an example. Just working example. Somebody is supposed to go do a urine test because they have to test clean to have visit with a kid. And the client come in and they say, Mr. Bowie, like I had a dream last night that my daughter died or something. I have to see her. And I said to her, yeah, I really want you to see your daughter. Did you do the test that you were supposed to do last Friday? And they say no. It's tough. But I can't do the visit because the guideline says you must test. It didn't say you have to test clean enough. There's an expectation that you test clean, but it says you must test. So if you miss the test, you had an obligation to call and say, you know what, the bus saw me at the stop and run past me. Or I was sick that day and I couldn't make it. But don't just turn up and tell me that you didn't do the test and then say, but just do this for me just this one time. Because you know what? People up the ante on you. And they'll also go tell your supervisor that you allow them to see the child without testing. So some of those dilemmas are easy. Like her story is heartbreaking and you want to help. But you have an obligation to the client. And you can't have the client violating the rules like that and just say, well, I'm going to give her a break. What are you going to give her a break with? Like smoking weed with the child next time? So just remember those four things. The client, the agency, your colleagues, the profession. If it violates any of those, you can't do it. No matter what your heart says. Because we don't act based on the heart. We act based on data. We don't use guts to do the work. We use data. Please don't forget that one. I don't feel nothing. My spirit don't take that person. I don't do that. That's not fear to the person. And that's not fear to your spirit either. So please, when you face dilemma, remember the tenets of your profession. Remember the client. Remember the agency. In this case, it's the school, Moneague College. If you do that, are you going to bring the college into disrepute? Then don't do it. I'm not saying it's as simple as that, but it is as simple as that. That man has been begging for a week.
Can you share
Yes, sir.
a moment in your career where you felt proud of?
Hold on a minute. Please give me a chance to speak. Thank you.
Can you share a moment in your career where you felt proud of making a difference in someone's life?
You want me to stay up the whole day? and the man said half a minute. So I've had many of those moments. And let me just tell you, my proudest moment is when I have hard to deal with clients that overcome. I did a 6-sibling adoption. It's my greatest accomplishment as a social worker. Yes, at the start, it was a grandparent adoption. And the grandparent said, oh, not try to kill me because I've adopted 2 already. The woman was 32 years old. She had 9 children. All of them have been removed by the system. I mean, at 32, she's in the height of her fertility. So she said, the parents said the only way that they take the children is unless I order that the woman had her tube tied. Remember, I say I'm not in the business of making moral judgment. As a social worker, I could not do that. I understand in my gut what they're saying. Because yes, this woman is fertile and could have a lot more kids. But it's not my business to tell her to go get her tube tied? Would I encourage her and give her option? Yes. But would I force her to do it? No. So what was I proud about? I convinced these grandparents through good communication, building relationship, creating trust. I convinced them to adopt those 6 children. And let me just tell you, I'm still feeling good about those grandparents willing to take all 6 of those on top of the 2 that they had already. Give them a permanent home, because you know what every child wants? A permanent place to call home. If any of you have ever moved from family to family, you know how disruptive that is. And sometimes they treat you like Cinderella. But when you're in a place where you know you love, where you know they trust you, where you know you can rely on them to be there for you, there's nothing sweeter than that. And so, yes, that's my proudest achievement in life.
Another round of applause, please.
Your words have not only inspired, but have also challenged us to think critically about our roles in the society.
Professor Bowie, your mentorship today has undoubtedly planted seeds of growth that will shape the future of social work in Jamaica and beyond. Once again, we thank you, Professor Bowie, for your time, your insights, and your unwavering commitment to the betterment of others. We look forward to continue learning from you and hope to welcome you again in the future. May you continue to inspire us. This is a token of appreciation on behalf of the Moneague College family.
Yes. Right, you got it? Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So in summarizing the presentation, I recognize my Moneague connection, Oliver and Basil. And in the matter of why solidarity matters, because of the extent of workplace tension where older professionals may see youth as, quote, entitled, end quote, while young professionals may feel undervalued. There is the cultural shift. Some traditions are fading because it is perceived that the younger generation aren't engaged. So remember the 70s that helped to create the gaps between the generation, and we need to bridge that gap. Also remember the research done by NCB, among others, and certainly some of the challenges that were identified, resistance and communication style, and then note some of the solutions that were implemented by NCB, upskilling, collaboration between young and old, and the results and the impact, over 80% employee participation across generations. And then the other case studies that I've identified that I mentioned are worthy of studying: Digital Rise and the Maroon Cultural Preservation Project.